pretty well. No, I don't think so. Yeah, I'm a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. Is that a conspiracy?
You've certainly...
Let me just tell you what Newsweek says this. The John Birch Society considers communism only one arm of a master conspiracy in which socialist American insiders are plotting to establish world government. Now, it also says, and here's Director John McManus, that's your public relations director, saying that former Secretary of State Alexander Haig and CIA Director William Casey are two of these master conspirators who are plotting to establish world government.
Welcome everyone to the Best Damn Podcast. I am your host, John Keane. As always, I would like to thank you guys for joining me. As that you please, add, follow, and check us out, www.thebestdampodcast.tv. Follow me, Instagram, Best Damn Podcast, Twitter, The Real Best Damn, and Facebook, Best Damn Podcast. Guys, make sure to hit that like, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, let me know what you think. We will have some very interesting topics tonight, so I'm sure you'll have some feedback. Make sure to share this link, that way new people can find us, and don't forget to subscribe, click notifications, all. That way you get everything in the future moving forward. Check out our astrology videos, our tarot videos. Consider booking your own personal tarot reading. The links and information is in the description box down below. And remember, we're completely viewer powered, so if you'd like to donate support to the channel, it helps us keep it going, keep it moving. It's all greatly appreciated. Tonight we've got a wild one, man. I mean, the trans agenda continues to just spiral out of control. Now it's just not gender, right, that can be mixed and meshed, and there's this political correctness to it, and this whole virtue signaling that's going on online. Now it's age as well, right? Trans age activists, right? Now, this is going to take us down a rabbit hole, guys. I really don't like talking about these kind of videos, but I mean, nobody else is, and we have to put a light on this. We have to, put some attention on the things that are taking place. They are sexualizing our children. We're going to get updates on what's going on with Pizza Tate, or Andrew Tate, and the shit that's going down with him and his whole pedophilia. A lot of people are now saying that was just used to discredit him, that he's really a legit truther. I don't know. I'm going to leave that up to you as well. Also, we're going to be looking at the recent attacks on the power grids in the United States. Very freakish, right? The federal police just arrested a couple of guys for doing this in person, but there's been, I think, over 120-something odd attacks on the power grid in 2022 alone. It's really strange considering the whole electrification agenda and how we're moving towards electric cars and all of that shit. Maybe, just maybe, it's not a good idea to depend on just electricity alone, but I mean, what do I know, right? I'm not the prez. I don't make these decisions, but I think it's strange, guys. I think it's strange. Remember Scorched Earth Project, right? It talks about an agenda where you take out all of a country's resources piece by piece, one by one, to make a nation collapse without violence having to be used. And if you look at what's happened at the United States, not only do we see this, attack on the infrastructure, through the, electrical grid, the power grids being attacked, which looks very intentional as we move towards electrification and all this with green agenda, build back better. We also see, the underlying morality or moral fabric of the nation being attacked through schooling, right, and the conditioning of children through all the different trans agendas as well. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. We've seen evidence of them dumping fuel off of the coast and shit like that, and dumping oil, right? Remember the giant oil spills off of the coast of California? I think it was 160,000 gallons, and then we have fuel shortages. Or how about all of the supply chains and the demand that was put on them just over the last year or so, and we've seen intentional holdups on supplies being brought in to the country, as well as trade wars with China. It almost seems as if all of this is being done intentionally by the very people that we quote unquote elected. I'm not going to say we did or didn't, but that are in power. Right? We're also going to be taking a look at a non-binary priest. This is all part of this, guys, moving us in a direction of, a one world religion, a one world currency, a one world government. We got climate change, economic crisis. It's all going to be going down today. This is going to be a pretty good one. So I hope you guys decide to stick around. Make sure if you're in that chat, you hit the thumbs up. Leave a comment. I want to know what you're thinking, guys, and share this link. Share it to your Facebook groups, and follow us. Instagram, Twitter, all of that, guys. And like I said, you can donate, support, or book your own personal tarot reading with the links in the description box down below. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I appreciate you all. We're going to start right here. Trans age activists now claim age is a social construct, just like we predicted would happen. And I just want to say this, and I'm not going to say the name of the business, but if you follow me on Instagram, I posted a picture. Me and my girlfriend Erin went out and got coffee about a week or so ago, and I went to the restroom, and we live right in the city here in Cincinnati. I go right into the restroom of this coffee shop that we're at, and on the bathroom doors it says gender is a construct. Right? Gender is a construct. It said it on the restroom doors, and there's a lot of that here in Cincy. I don't know, what it's like in the city you stay in. Well, now we're going to see this being pushed instead. Age is a construct. Now, I want you to think back to just the last episode or two that we've done on this channel. Okay, guys? Harry Styles, Balenciaga, Gucci, right? All the child pornography and the pedophilia. Take this, tie it in with, Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein and, all of that you've also seen. Andrew Tate, the Pizzagate. And now here we are. This is where we arrive. This is where we land. This is how they do that, right? They normalize it through the media, to get you used to it, to get you comfortable with it, to dull the shock factor, it starts by one thing. It's like, oh, well, no, gender is fluid and gender is a social construct, and it's like, as soon as that is acceptable, and it's like, and this is changing the reality. Remember the Communist manifestos and all these things that we have shown over the years, showing you the steps to bringing a country into communism. Yuri Bezmenov, the former KGB agent, talking about the 4 steps, demoralization, destabilization, crisis, and normalization. And it's like we've seen all of these things happening on so many different levels. The 10-point plan of the New World Order by Alice Bailey. And now they're changing what your reality is, changing what's acceptable. And they do all of this, and it's like, if you don't go along with it, not only are you not trendy and cool, you're not moral. You're a bad person. You're inconsiderate of those, who are less fortunate in their age progression or whatever, however they want to phrase it. And I showed you the Stanford University study where they're changing things like Karen to entitled white woman and all of this. It's like, this is the new speak. This is the 1984 Orwellian dystopian fucking bullshit to try to get you, to walk yourself to the slaughter, right? Into this one world system where they sterilize everyone looks the same, universal basic income, depend on the government, right? And we'll just tell you when to go get your next, little poke, and, you can pretend that there is no such thing as, race, age, color, or anything like that, because we want you to deny the reality that you're in so we can take control of your mind and tell you what reality actually is now. So the rise of transgenderism over the last few years has made us all wonder what the next progression is. That's where trans age comes in. And don't think that it stops there. I was showing you the lab-grown meat and the human cannibalism. This is crazy where we're going, guys. This is real crazy. And we're heading there to hell in a handbasket fucking fast. Activists are claiming that age is nothing more than a social construct. And that trans age individuals need to be accepted into society. Let me ask you the question. If your 10, 12-year-old daughter says that she's actually on the inside a 25-year-old woman, and that because of that, she wants to behave like a 25-year-old woman and date and have sex and all this with 25-year-old men or 30-year-old men, will it be okay? If they're already willing to give children surgeries, they haven't even hit puberty yet, right? Don't even have the hormones yet or the mental capacity or emotional maturity to decide where they are with their gender. What makes you think that they won't do the same exact thing with the age? We were originally told that the transgender people just wanted to be accepted into society and use whatever bathroom they chose. Next, we were told that males who consider themselves to be trans women, like collegiate swimmer Leah Thomas, simply wanted to compete in women's sports. We've now arrived at the point where we're called bigots and transphobes if we don't agree that men can get their periods and get pregnant too. As the transgender craze gets more and more irrational, many of us were left wondering what was next. We speculated that at some point in the future, people would claim they were trans age. It looks like that moment has arrived earlier than expected, and you know what? And that's the truth. I'm going to show you guys some articles that are going to blow your fucking top. Seriously. And if you don't accept this, which is... It's this blatant fucking... This blatant agenda to blur the lines of reality and, biology and all of this. It's like, from a group that's supposed to be so pro-science, I've never seen something more anti-scientific, It's like we have to deny not only our eyes, right, but the facts of reality in the world out of convenience and consideration for, for another person because they choose to live in their own distorted version or distorted perception. Right? It's like if you want to have your perception of, men can have periods and babies and all of that, we know factually, biologically, it's impossible, right? We know that. But don't force it on me. Don't force me to accept that flawed logic. Don't force it on me to accept that way I can accommodate your fucking hallucinations. That way I can accommodate, these fucking irrational dreams you have of what things should be. It's like and the craziest part is like they don't want you to do that to them. They don't want you to force your beliefs and opinions on them, and we shouldn't. We should never do that. We should allow everyone to be who they are. Everyone should be treated equal, treated with love, respect. Matter of fact, I believe that, no matter if you're gay, straight, whatever, right? Marriage is marriage, and everyone deserves the same rights, and, all of that. But when you do things like this, I feel like it really crosses a line because it's trying to tell us that, what we know to be scientifically, biologically true, right, in fact, is no longer fact or truth. And once you start doing that, you can say whatever you want to be the truth is now the new truth, So it's dangerous. The foundation of the trans age claim that age is a social construct, and just because someone might biologically be 18 years old doesn't necessarily mean that they identify with that age. In November, a Twitter account, and this is not just scientific either, this is what's legal, right? Legally, legally. That birth certificate can't be changed. Biologically, be 18 years old doesn't necessarily mean that they identify with that age. In November, a Twitter account called Aged Dysphoria shared a thread about what trans age is and why trans age people wanting to be widely accepted into society. It sounds like something straight out of a dystopian novel. And we see the quote here. Trans age people have no intent of trivializing age regression. In fact, many trans age people are also age regressors, she writes. Age regression is a mental reversion to a younger age. Trans age reflects a long-term incongruence between one's age identity and their chrono age. And you can see, here's the tweet right here from the thread on Twitter, right, at Age Dysphoria. Presumably, chrono age refers to one's chronological or biological age. Age dysphoria says a person's trans age experience, quote, can be related to age dysphoria. She shares a graphic that explains what trans age is. Quote, trans age means a person's age identity is different than their chronological age or chrono age. Trans age people can be any age and are not all younger than their chrono age. Trans age people may also fluctuate between ages, be multiple ages, or be no specific age. Common experiences related to being trans age include plurality, neurodivergence, trauma, age regression, age dysphoria, and not all trans age people experience all or any of these specific things. The only requirement to be trans age is to feel a sincere incongruence between your age, identity, and your chronological age. So, this is what they're saying. The only thing you need to do is say, hey, I don't feel like I'm that old. Right? If I want to go and tell everybody I feel like I'm 25 still, it doesn't make me 25. I can go around lying even and tell everybody, hey, I'm 25 years old. And some people might believe it, but I doubt it. But it doesn't mean everybody has to accept my lie, and it sure as fuck doesn't change the legality of things, It's like I should not be going and playing with children if I say I feel like a child, or my children can't say they feel like they're adults and start making adult decisions. It's very, very insane, just to say the least. It says there are different labels that many trans age people identify with, apparently, including ager, abdul, age play, little, etc. And I don't know about the little thing, but whatever. According to Age Dysphoria, trans age people identify with these labels because they are either confused about the nature of the trans age identity due to misinformation or are scared of being harassed by those who are misinformed about us. She also laments about trans age people being stigmatized and misunderstood. Quote, trans age people exist and we are valid, she tweets. We are not trivializing or invalidating anyone simply by being ourselves. We are not trolls. We are not predators. We simply want to live and want to live life as our authentic selves, to be accepted and to be free from harassment over who we are as people. And amen to that. I think we're all trying to do that. Everybody deserves that, right? Your natural rights guarantee that. But in order to have those rights, you have to abide by laws, which are, according to facts. Birth certificates and shit, too, right? Of course, one of the biggest concerns with the trans age claim is that the underage child can claim to identify with an older age than their chrono age, making them an instant target of harassment, abuse, or even rape. Detransitioned women, Chloe Cole, who had a double mastectomy at the tender age of 15, spoke out against the new trans age fad. She criticized that the age is a social construct claim and said the next step after transgender ideology and the sexualization of minors is trans age. An adult who thinks they are a child is disturbing. A minor who thinks they are an adult is a recipe for extreme sexual endangerment, and I couldn't agree more, right? The next step after the transgender ideology and the sexualization of minor as trans age, it's like, are people paying attention? Because it looks like we're being slow walked into the acceptance of sex with kids. Honestly, they expose us to all the pedophilia, when all the Trump shit was going on, the Clinton emails and Pizzagate, expose us to the grimiest of the grimy, right? And connect everybody to it. Everybody's in there doing it, right? Then they start blurring the lines, with the Me Too movement and all of that, like between adults, kids, everything. And it's like they continue to push it, and then it's like the trans agenda. They start reading the books to children, then stripping in front of children, and then it's the fashion industry, with the weird shit like Harry Styles with the baby mattress, or the Balenciaga and Gucci ads with the children, extremely sexualized. Those are just disgusting in my opinion, right? And now, we're here. That's where it's like trans age, and it's very scary. It says whether the so-called trans age person is identifying as a younger person or they're claiming to be older than what they actually are. It's a disturbing development in the world of intersectionality. Sadly, many of us predicted we would arrive here, opening the door for pedophilia to take place under the guise of acceptance and tolerance. The trans age claims are not widely seen and heard in society yet, but many people are bracing themselves for a rise in trans age popularity in the future, just like we've seen burly men dominate women's sports, and it's only a matter of time before we see middle-aged men attending middle school because they identify as a 14-year-old. And think about a lot of the shit where we have seen the different trans people go, like men, go into women's restrooms and then rape young girls and shit like that. Weird stuff like that. It's like, I think this is just the fucking tip of the iceberg. Honestly, this is just the tip of the iceberg. But we're about to get a lot weirder, a lot crazier, guys. And Leah Thomas was banned from competing at an elite level after FINA restricts trans women from swimming in events. Trans swimmer Leah Thomas, and they were just talking about her, grabbed the attention of the whole country when he identified as a woman, joined the University of Pennsylvania swim team, and broke records and won medals at various events. Thomas's infiltration of women's collegiate swim has sparked national conversation about the presence of transgender athletes in sports. FINA, the International Federation recognized by the International Olympic Committee, has just implemented new rules that will have a huge impact on Thomas and any other trans athlete that attempts to participate in women's sports. They instituted the new gender inclusion policy. It's a new 24-page policy that only allows trans swimmers to compete if they have transitioned before the age of 12. This is not saying that people are encouraged to transition by the age of 12. It's what the scientists are saying, that if you transition after the start of puberty, you have an advantage, which is unfair. They're not saying everyone should transition by 11. That's ridiculous. You can't transition by that age in most countries, and hopefully you wouldn't be encouraged to. Basically what they're saying is that it's not feasible for people who have transitioned to compete without having an advantage, and there you go, you know. This is, in my opinion, a way of encouraging people to transition before the age of 12. If you put a limitation on it like that, right, you say, oh, well, if you transition before the age of 12, then you can be naturally accepted as a woman or a male or whatever, right? Because there is a obvious advantage in sports, especially, given after puberty, right? Physically, there's a physical difference between men and women, and it's like, for us to deny that would be stupid, right? It's science, it's biology, it's anatomy, it's truth. But we're also thought to bring that into question, even though we have all this data and evidence, and you can guarantee that people will come down on a ruling like this because why? They're saying, oh, this is going to be, you're transphobic, you're against trans people because you don't want to allow them to compete, right? Unless they've had the transition before a certain age. So like I said, I feel like it is definitely encouraging people to transition before that age. And you know what? Speaking of, all the trans stuff, let me jump here first before we get into Tate and all of this. This is fucking nuts, and this is one of a few crazy stories I have today. This is a really crazy video, probably. So make sure you hit that thumbs up. Check this out. This is out of the Daily Beast. Yes, men can have periods, and we need to talk about them. Menstruation isn't just a women issue. It's time we opened up the conversation, and this is crazy. You see things like this put into the news. Now let me show you where this goes to. how far this can go. Out of the Liberty Daily, right? This is mental illness. Men claiming to be women are inserting frozen tomato paste into themselves to, quote, mimic a period. So you've seen it right here, right? They're saying women or men can have periods, okay? Recently, the corner of Twitter, interested in feminism and gender diversity, had a row over transgender inclusion. This has been an issue in feminist circles for many years as people negotiate who is inside and outside the sphere of feminist concern. On Twitter, these kind of boundary disputes have been a perennial issue. In this case, the trigger was the trending hashtag of, feminine, if men had periods, meant to highlight that the ways of sexism plays out in the topic of menstruation, such as through a lack of medical progress or material support. It was roundly criticized for being both inaccurate and oppressive. For starters, some men do have periods and many women don't. How fucking crazy is this? And I'd love to see how they're justifying this. It says Planned Parenthood got involved in the discussion using the term menstruators. Some dislike this term, arguing that the sanitary products are a women's issue and that it is dehumanizing to refer to women as menstruators. And that's what it's all about, is the dehumanization of people, right? When you are able to put everybody in these special interest groups, right? These are just collectives, and this is collectivism. Whoever's at the top of that collective, whatever character or group or brand or logo or whatever is at the top of that collective essentially controls that collective. And it's like more divide and conquer to get you to accept all of these different labels. And the more labels they can get you to accept, the more special you feel, right? And to be honest, it doesn't make you special. It just strips away, right, the fact that you're just a human being. It says this is understandable objection to an inelegant term. If one accepts the premise that sanitary products are only for women, the term is an attempt to find language that's inclusive. And this is where it is. Like I said, the newspeak thing, to find language that's inclusive. We do not need to hypothesize that the world would be like if men had periods. Some men do have periods, and do some non-binary people. Once in a while, I hear stories of people whose periods started again after many years on testosterone. I dread it happening to me. It's not clear why this happens, but it's typically a sign that one's hormone replacement therapy needs changing. Contrary to some contributions to that unfortunate hashtag menstruating, when trans is on average pretty terrible for a number of reasons. Here we go. Oh my God. We pay the same luxury taxes as everyone else, even though we make less money. Our argument made is that if men had periods, is that the luxury tax on sanitary goods would not exist if men had periods. After all, razors are usually taxed on as essentials, despite being arguably less essential than the luxury of keeping clean during your period. Unfortunately, trans people pay the same luxury good taxes as everyone else, but they're statistically less likely to be able to afford it. In the U.S., 15% of trans people, 16% of trans men, earn less than $10,000 a year compared to 4% of the general population. The next one, trans menstruators are more likely to be homeless. Even if sales taxes on sanitary products were lifted, it would only make a small dent in the impact that menstruation has on the lives of people in severe poverty. There has, thankfully, been more discussion lately about how hard it is to have a period when you live on the street. Some organizations have started helping homeless people with period supplies, such as Conscious Period in California and the Homeless Period in the UK. With trans people twice as likely to be homeless than the general population, they struggle more to afford sanitary items. They are also less likely to have access to private space to change pads or tampons or to empty a menstrual cup. Advocacy for people who menstruate aims to help the most vulnerable then, had her period. So, I mean, I don't really know how they can even try to say that this means that men have periods, because a woman that's, took the hormones or whatever is now, I don't know. The health system ignores us when we need help. The thought of having a period again terrifies me, not just the dysphoria and unbearable physical pain I used to experience when menstruating, but because I believe the medical system would do little to help me. Let's face it, the health system is woefully inadequate when it comes to dealing with any kind of problematic menstruation, no matter the gender identity of the person experiencing it. And dysmorphia, the painful periods, is poorly understood because research into the problem does not receive the funding it needs. Nobody's certain why it happens. And you know what? If you want to look at this is crazy, but I just wanted to kind of show you, this is a real fucking article, right? A real article talking about, yes, men have periods, because if a woman identifies as a man now, that technically it's stupid, right? It's like, it's nonsensical. No, they do not. Men do not have periods. That's a biological, anatomical fact. Now, here, the mental illness gets even fucking more bizarre and more crazy. As if, right? This is mental illness. Men claiming to be women are inserting frozen tomato paste into themselves to mimic a period. Oh my fucking God. Every time we think that insanity associated with the transgender supremacy movement has reached its peak, we hear news that blows away our worst expectations. This is a sickness, as conservative pundit Ashley St. Clair recently reported on Twitter. You can see here, Ashley St. Clair, mentally ill, claiming to be women, are inserting frozen tomato paste into themselves to mimic a period. I'm so sick of pretending like these people are normal. Let's see if we can look at some of the images and shit from this tweet here. Let's go to the tweet. I don't know how big it is. Not big enough, but you can see right there. That's what the tomato paste is. These tubes right here. These frozen tubes. They're shoving them up their ass, by the way. Okay? Name something that isn't a crime but should be. Sticking ketchup popsicles up your ass to feel like you're menstruating. Woo! Name something that isn't a crime but should be. Oh, sticking ketchup popsicles up your ass to feel like you're menstruating. Oh my God, I had to dig deeper to make sure this wasn't some sick satire. It's not. The combination of complete depravity and unambiguous mental illness continues to ramp up the most ludicrous ways. It's enough to make one lose hope in this nation's redemption. Isn't that the truth? But that doesn't mean we should stop fighting. Unfortunately, the powers that be, who want to destroy America, realize that this extreme version of cultural Marxism is the fastest path through which the United States can self-immolate before the altar of globalism. This is why gender dysphoria was once rightly considered to be a mental disorder. Today, it's being normalized in ways that defy both logic and science. Wokeness is literally killing us. It's also making us stupid. And considering the direction we're heading, I'm not sure which fate is worse. And that is very, very interesting. Gender dysphoria was once considered to be a mental disorder. And it talks about, that gender, so many gender, dysphoria of people are homeless and stuff like that. If you take a look at most of the people that are homeless and that they do suffer from mental disorders. So, one could draw direct connections and correlations to the two. I'm not saying that you have to be sick in your head or something to identify as another gender. Or anything like that. I have no idea what it's like to do that. I've never identified as anything other than a male, a man. So I couldn't tell you, but I do think that there might be something to that. And we've seen studies too that kind of point to different experiences early on in life as a child, leading to people having certain behaviors in the bedroom on down the road as well. Right, or deciding to identify with another, sex or whatever later on, in life as well. So, this is an interesting one. I'm going to drop this in the chat for you guys too, if you want to go check this out yourself or show this to your friends and family. Right, and this is a good one to share. And yeah, crazy. Why are the headlines now more likely the Weekly World News? I don't fucking know, Kimberly. I have no idea. I see the headlines now, and it is like that. It's like those old tabloid magazines, right? Like we would see back in the early 90s, late 80s, and I can only identify with that. I was born in the 80s. But the magazines back in the 90s and the late 80s, right? Those tabloids would be like, Worm Boy, decides to get married to a 7-foot fish or something like that. Some weird shit like that. That's what it looks like now. But it's the actual news. It's the actual fucking news now, It's very, very crazy. People sticking tomato paste up their assholes to say that they had a period. You have got to be shitting me. You've got to be shitting me. I feel like we have reached an all-time low. This is an all-time low, and it's the epitome of fucking insanity. Insanity. If you've never read the book, 1984, I am telling you, go read it today. I own the book. It's sitting right over here on the bookshelf right now. I own the book. It's one of my favorites of all time. And dude, I'm telling you, that's what it is. Right? That's what it is. They change. What is it? War is peace is war. Hate is love, or whatever. Like, what is the saying? Anybody in the chat remember what they say? War is peace, or peace is war, hate is love, some shit like that. But basically, like, they invert reality, and then they come up with this version of talking, or this way of talking called newspeak, where they absolutely correct the way everybody speaks, right? They change it, and you're only allowed to say certain words, and we see it now, right? From Karen to fucking privileged white woman, right? It's very crazy. I know, I can't believe it, guys. Like, I can't believe it. I'm sorry. And I feel like, you know what, I don't want to say this too, and I said this in a few videos ago. I feel like what this does is it like turns people against homosexuals and turns people against, feminists and all of this for no reason. It's like people have this idea in their mind now that everybody that's transgender is a fucking weirdo who shoves ketchup popsicles up their asshole to pretend they have a period, right? When it's just not true. The truth of that is that people who identify as another, sex, 9 times out of 10 are normal people, right? Like, they don't make a big fucking deal about it and try to, convince everybody else what they are or aren't. And they're not doing all this crazy shit to try to, make you think that biology and reality has shifted all the way around too. That's insane. It's insanity, right? And I'll be honest, I even seen this thing where this woman was saying that she's sick of seeing people fucking mansplain about having periods and shit on social media. Men sitting back telling women what it's like to have a period because they shove popsicles up their asshole, right? It's like, we have reached an all-time low in society right now. Like, we really have. We've taken a fucking nosedive, y'all. It's, and it makes gay people look bad when they put this stuff saying that gays are target children, right, and their schools and all of this, right, through the trans community. And I said this in that a couple of videos ago. I feel like it's these sexual fucking weirdos that go to these schools and, do the stripping shit in front of children, the trans stuff. It's these weirdos that are shoving ketchup popsicles up their ass, and that 99.999% of gay, trans, lesbian people are people just like you and me. They're normal, chill. They would never harm a child or never harm a soul. It's like this is the minority, but they want you to think that this is what they're all like because they're trying to create hate. It's a divide and conquer tactic, and it's working, and now it's like, if you identify with the right or the left now, you're pro-trans or anti-trans. The shit's just, we're beyond the point of no return, guys. We're beyond the point of no return. And look, it gets better. Hold on. It gets better. Let me pull up the article here. Oh, Lord. And as if you would think that things couldn't get weirder. Watch this. Here we go. I think it's over here. One second for me. Just wait 1 second, guys. I gotta pull this up here. Oh, Lord. This is about a priest, right here. Britain's first non-binary priest says, God guided me to the truth. And let me make sure you guys have sound. There's a video and shit that goes with this one. Let me check out the sound here. Yeah, looks like you're good. Like I said, if you're in the live chat, thank you for joining me. Make sure to hit that thumbs up for me, guys. If you catch us on the flip side, comment below, man. That helps with the algorithms. And this is a handsome one, ain't it? It says, the Church of England's first non-binary vicar said it was difficult when they came out to their wife and 3 children after having a moment of revelation while reading the story of Adam and Eve. It's the book of Adam and Eve in the Bible decided, what made you decide to go this route? What? The fuck did you? Are you reading the same fucking version as the rest of us? I mean, what translation is that? That you got this out of that. Fucking wild shit. And I feel like more and more people are gonna be encouraged to do outlandish, crazy shit like this too, because social media rewards them, right? You're rewarded in the public square. You know, you'll trend on Twitter, you know, if you do something like this. You'll have 1 million followers, you know, and people will want to, you know, give you sponsorships and all of this on your content channels if you do these type of things. So it's like rewarded this time of wild, crazy, ludicrous behavior because they want to push this agenda. It says, Bingo Allison, who's 36, who defines as a genderqueer and uses the pronoun they and them, experienced an epiphany 7 years ago while reading Genesis 1 through 3 in the Old Testament. The vicar, who works in Liverpool, said they came to terms with their gender identity while reading the story and realized there's space in God's creation for change and transformation. Just because you're created one way doesn't mean that you can't live another. Bingo also said their wife found things difficult when they first came out because obviously you marry what you think is a straight guy, and obviously things are more complicated than that. What the fuck? It's like, I feel sorry for his wife. You know what I mean? It's like, honestly, I feel sorry for his wife. It's like he should have, you know, and maybe he was confused early on in life, and that's why he got married, thinking it would fix things, and then he thought children would fix things. I don't know, you know? I don't know. But I always feel sorry for the husbands and wives, you know, when they build a life with somebody and then it's ripped out from underneath them because they decide, like, hey, I don't even like the same sex I used to, you know, something totally different. But it's like this happens, you know, people have affairs, you know, it's like, so. Speaking to BBC, BBC Radio Merseyside, Bingo described coming out as a gradual process for me and my family. They said, and remember, the reason it sounds weird is because it's they and them. They said, I'm married and I've got 3 children, and it was really important to come out to them. Give some time to letting them understand about me before I emerged on the world. My children are young, and when you're little, you really accept most things, and they've been lovely about it. We taught them about trans people before I came out, so it wasn't completely alien thing for them. Bingo continued, it was difficult for my wife to begin with, obviously. You marry what you think is a straight guy, and suddenly things are more complicated than that. But I'd like to believe you marry the person someone becomes as much as you marry the person that they are. What? And let's see the video here. And Bingo, who previously trained to become a priest in Durham, said the Church of England was open to me coming out, but added that it was difficult for some people they had worked with because for them I was the first transgender person they had worked with closely.
Now, we're going to start with a rather bizarre story, but it's one that's worth flagging, I think. The Church of England has its first openly non-binary priest, Bingo Allison. Not sure if that was her born name, 36, her Christian name, is genderqueer and says God guided them to come out.
Good morning and welcome to the Church of St Margaret of Antioch in Toxteth. And today is Transgender Day of Visibility. My name is Reverend Bingo Allison, and I am a non-binary transgender priest in the Church of England. As part of our commemoration of Transgender Day of Visibility, we have a morning prayer service that we're going to read now. Most of the liturgy is either directly quoted from scripture or is written by myself.
Claire Muldoon, is this progress?
No, it's not at all. It's actually regression in my view. And an interesting lexical choice there when you said it's a story worth flagging. Have we not had enough of flags in this country, of everything being throttled down our throats, and given the fact that the Church of England now, in my view, has lost the plot? This is, I think, that this is a serious, serious issue here. We've got a serious issue of trans rights, women's rights, human rights. No one's denying anyone any rights. We've got Scotland. Nicola Sturgeon has said that between the ages of 16 and above, you can actually self-identify in your own gender. I think the whole gender critical movement, the whole gender review movement, the whole gender identity movement in this country has lost any sense of normality or reason. And it's terribly difficult to have some reasoned debate on this issue because people are so worked up about it on either side. Now, Reverend Bingo Allison, I'm sorry, but in Toxteth, when you had the Liverpool riots years and years ago, why are they not out rioting now? I mean, I'm not minimising anything, and neither am I making this a focal issue. However, the Church of England, I think, are trying to be so ecumenical, so encompassing, so open and honest, and everyone is welcome. Yes, everyone should be welcome, but there are parameters within that state. And when it's a state, when it's a religious state, when the king is now the head of the church, why doesn't he have a say on what's happening? Because I think this is quite an intrinsic issue, and I think this is opening the floodgates, and I think it's a very dangerous precedent to set.
Narinder,
Wow, it's a very dangerous precedent to set. I mean, honestly, she basically nails it. You know, she's a little extreme, but, you know, it's like, she called it. This is fucking insanity. And you know what? You lose all credibility when you start doing shit like this. When you do the outlandish fucking things that they've been doing. You lose all credibility for your movement, and I feel like that's what they're trying to do. Says Bingo, who had previously trained to become a priest in Durham, said the Church of England was open to me coming out, but added that it was difficult for some people they had worked with because for them I was the first transgender person they'd worked with closely. They have since moved to Liverpool Diocese, which does so much to support and empower LGBT people, and they have found their new congregation wonderful. Talking about how it has received them, Bingo added, on the outside you might think, oh, they're quite a traditional church, so they might have traditional views. But I've always been treated as a person and as a priest. Bingo is now vocal about gender issues and uses social media to spread their message, including posting selfies with captions saying, Jesus loves sparkly eyeshadow. Oh, yes, we all know Jesus loves sparkly eyeshadow, right? Jesus loves face tats too, or so I'm told. The parent of the three grew up in a strongly religious household in West Yorkshire and was raised to believe being gay was sinful. But a 15-year journey, which included meeting the LGBTQ Christians, completely changed their very traditional and conservative outlook on life, they told Liverpool Echo. Quote, my views used to be very traditional and very conservative, certainly. Some might call them bigoted, and there was a lot of ignorance and a lot of othering, they said. I don't take the time to learn from other people's experiences. I was definitely in a lot of denial, and some of that denial came out of denial of the other people's identities. Bingo came out 7 years ago, halfway through the Church of England's Vicar Training Program. They explained how the language which the Bible originally used in Genesis 1:27 spoke about from maleness to femaleness as opposed to men and women. And I was sitting there in the middle of the night when I realized I might need to run my life upside down. It was a deepening spiritual experience. At that point, Bingo had only met 2 openly gay people and no trans people, and there were times when they questioned their new gender identity. Now they visit schools, speak to youth groups, and to encourage other LGBTQ people that they have a place in the church.
The Daily Mail now, and following the death of the Queen, yet another Smith song proves prophetic. with the Church of England's first vicar in a tutu.
Wow. Quite obscure, but I liked it. Yeah, so this is the Church of England's first non-binary vicar, and they're called Bingo. And I have to say, I didn't have this on my bingo card for 2023, Simon.
Bingo Allison. It almost feels like a name created to, like, enliven the comic
by the League of Gentlemen or something. Yeah. So yes, exactly. So Bingo has 3 children and a wife who were apparently had a bit of a challenge with this, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And it's
those bigots.
Yeah, I know, and it's a bit of a Schofield moment. We're supposed to celebrate this very beautiful journey, whereas really you've just destroyed your wife's life.
Yeah.
And the Daily Mail sort of buys into it, using they instead of, I would say, he throughout. So
I'm quite sure the Daily Mail is doing this to be deliberately provocative
really?
to their readership.
I think the Daily Mail are just lefty. I don't think they're lefty. I don't buy in this idea that he's right. No, I think they're far left.
I don't think they need to try anymore. I think they just report facts now. And facts are just so...
Libs of TikTok style.
Bingo Allison is genderqueer.
Yeah, so
isn't that even in itself, that's quite a... Yeah. It's like a newly minted. I'm not going to say
and it means nothing.
We've got to quickly raise the main point, which is the decline of the Church of England. I mean, Bingo has said things like, Jesus loves sparkly eyeshadow, which seems sort of deliberately provocative to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just part of the... And I saw a video where this Bingo person was introducing themselves and saying, like, I'm non-binary, this and that. I was thinking, why do you even need to say that, really? You know what I mean? Like, most vicars wouldn't necessarily start with... It was some sort of trans day of something, but to me it seemed deliberately provocative, and I just think it's part of the ongoing sort of ridiculous decline of the...
And, you know, like the guy said, he's celebrating really just destroying his wife's life and shit like that, too. It's fucking crazy, man. Like, how this is looked at and how this is perceived by everybody. And you know what? If you wanted true equality, I do agree with this. I don't see why you would even come out and say... You would have to say what you identify with at all. You know, I don't go to places and I introduce myself and say, hi, I'm John. I identify as a male. I have a penis, you know, whatever. Like, I don't do that, and I don't know anybody else who does that, so I don't see why there's this major necessity for a lot of these people. It feels like it's to get attention. It feels like it is to rattle people's cages or get under their skin, you know, and it feels like it's not organic. You know, it's like it's not organic. Halfway through his schooling, he decided to switch it up. You know, who knows? Honestly, at the end of the day, who knows where these people get a lot of these ideas to do these things. But, you know, we know there is an agenda. And it's being carried out. It's being pushed forward on a daily basis. And it's not appearing to get, you know, any better. How about this? After Andrew Tate's arrest, Romanian police cite the lover boy tactic. That's just one way traffickers trick women. How many of you guys seen the Tim Pool podcast and shit like that? People are defending this fuck boy. People are defending this fuck. And they're like saying that Tate is actually innocent and that, you know, this is just a tactic because he's a manly man and all this. First off, this dude isn't a man at all. He's a fucking chauvinist pig. He's a goddamn slug of a human being, right? A sack of dog shit. The way that he, you know, talks about women, right? Belittles women and all of that. Any real man, manly man, wouldn't behave that fucking way, right? That's not how men behave at all. That's how little boys and dudes with, you know, the small dick energy behave, as Greta pointed out, right? The small dick energy thing at getalife.com. You know, that's how little boys behave, you know, treating women like that. But it's like this guy, you know, his 33 cars and, you know, the talisman thing and all of that. We know that he is a plant. You know, he's been propped up on Twitter with millions of fucking followers. He is a goddamn scam artist. If you go check out his shit, he's not going to make you independently wealthy or rich. And he don't know how to break the fucking matrix. The motherfucker is helping build the system in the prison that is, you know, destroying you and your family. It says the people, or the perp walk of influencer Andrew Tate, an online poster child for toxic masculinity, after a raid on his luxury villa outside Bucharest, has highlighted the ongoing threat of human trafficking in Romania and the broader region. And keep in mind, he tweeted at Greta. Remember, check out my video on this, man. Which, we're on a side note, I know people don't want to hear me complain about this, but I want to tell you something very weird about this video. Yesterday, for whatever reason, YouTube took away about 400 or 500 views off of that video in particular. Last night it was like had like 1.2 or 1.3 thousand views or some shit, and by the time I got up this morning, it was back down underneath 800. It was really weird. I've never seen nothing like that, you know. So, go figure. But you know, looking into that, his tweet at Greta Thunberg, right, and Greta being the acronym for human trafficking in the European Union, him using I have 33 cars, we all know 33, right? His brother, Tate the Talisman, being his handle on Twitter, both of them being propped up on Twitter, doing the fucking bullshit scam and hustle, about getting rich and breaking the matrix, these pro-Trumper motherfuckers, and we all know the whole Trump-controlled opposition nonsense that's been pushed down people's throat for the last few years, acting like there's somehow this group of people going against the cabal, when in fact it is the cabal, pretending to be those that are resisting. That way they can find everybody who's resisting and essentially slaughter them. Just like what happened in the Bolshevik Revolution, right? Operation Trust. Right? But now it's called Trust the Plan instead. But I guess people forget that there's nothing new under the sun. And that this red wave is going to be the Red Dawn, I guess this time. It says investigations allege that 4 suspects, reportedly the 36-year-old Tate, his brother Tristan, and 2 Romanian women, formed a criminal group to traffic individuals in Romania and other countries. And keep in mind, Jerry's Pizza, right? Something taste like this or whatever, right? We looked at this yesterday. Watch my video on it, right? It was we got taste. It's we got Tates, right? Tates. It's like, what the fuck? And then the pizza with the pedophilia and the symbolism there. You can't make this shit up. And yes, his house looked like a strip club. Somebody put that in the comments yesterday. So it alleged that 4 suspects, reportedly a 36-year-old Tate, his brother Tristan, and 2 Romanian women, formed a criminal group to traffic individuals in Romania and other countries, including the United States and Britain. The alleged crimes also include rape. A U.S.-born former kickboxer with British citizenship, Tate has built a multi-million-dollar online brand on the pillars of masculinity, misogyny, and wealth creation. Following the arrest, a Bucharest court has ordered the suspects remain in pretrial custody for at least a month. Romania's human and sex trafficking problems are unlikely to disappear overnight. While numbers have fallen since the country established a national agency to combat trafficking in people, authorities continue to register around 30 new victims each month. And in August 2022, the U.S. State Department credited Romania's government with significant efforts, but warned it still does not fully meet the minimum standards for the elimination of trafficking. You can see there's the image right there of fuckboy, right? Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate are escorted by police officers. That was back on December the 29th, 2022. Romanian police allege that the Tate network ensnared British nationals using the lover boy method, in which perpetrators woo victims with the prospect of a loving relationship until they can be forced into abusive situations or slavery. Romanian service has delved into the official data and court testimonies by Romanian trafficking victims to identify several archetypes of people traffickers, and it has used pseudonyms for the women to protect their identities. And here's some of those types, guys. Let's take a look here. This is kind of interesting. The internet predator. Andreea was born to a poor family and raised in Alba County in Romania's historic Transylvania region. She dropped out of school in the 2nd grade and was left in the care of her maternal grandmother soon afterward. When her parents separated and both left in each opportunity abroad, years later the 20-year-old Andrea would testify to her desperate search for a job at home before traveling to Britain with the hopes of working at a chocolate factory, but ending up as a prostitute. What? Is this isn't there a movie about this? Right? Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Not the same thing? She got a golden ticket. She testified in court that her guide in the dark world of human trafficking was a man named Sebastian Z. And I wouldn't trust anybody with the name Sebastian Z. It's like, nah, it's a little sketchy, bro. So they met on Facebook in December 2020. Within just a few conversations, she said Sebastian had professed his desire to marry Andrea, but there was one condition. She would have to travel with him to Britain, where he would help her find work. A court psychologist who examined Andrea identified her particular vulnerability as an 18-year-old with little life experience or education. She had no math or reading skills. He's like, one condition, you have to come over here and suck dick for money from me. You know, and she's like, yeah, of course. Sebastian assured her that he loved her and that he had a special respect for women. She said, and that he would make her happy and protect her. She traveled to Britain in January 2020 without telling anyone in her family, which is sket. She had little more than the clothes she was wearing and a mobile phone as she traveled to the bus to by bus to Birmingham and then Wolverhampton, where her boyfriend and a friend of his and his wife had a rented home. She was quickly hustled into prostitution to avoid ending up on the streets. What? How the fuck does it flip into prostitution? Sebastian created an online alias for her, Andrea said, and customers would start arriving at 11 in the evening and will last until about 3 in the morning. And anyways, after 2 months, she was able to return to Romania after a family member there fell ill. He told me that if I told anyone or the police, he would come and stick a knife in me and kill me, she testified. But she found the courage to tell her grandmother, who immediately turned to the police. And Sebastian Z and her other captors were eventually sentenced to up to 4 years in prison. Romania's National Agency to Combat Human Trafficking says nearly a quarter of all those who report being trafficked are recruited in this way. And that, you know what? I don't know about that. It's really hard to believe that someone would go to another fucking country, right? Because someone loves them or whatever, right? They're told online they love them and they'll do this and that. Go to another country, start prostituting for that person and all of that. And it's like they totally keep it silent and on the hush-hush. And, you know, and then all of a sudden they get busted and all this. And it's like, I don't know. Man, it doesn't even sound realistic to me. Not even a little bit. You know, it's like, I'm not saying that those things can't happen, that women can't be tricked into that. But, dude, it's really hard to, like, you know, trick a person into sleeping with a bunch of people for money. You know, it's like I have to say, you know, the intimidation thing, maybe. But even at a certain point, you have the opportunity to go to the police and all that. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section, because I have my doubts. Loverboy, since the Tate's arrest, a 19-year-old daughter of a former Romanian legislator, had publicly accused him of trying to groom her and her schoolmates with unsolicited, quite suggestive phone messages since she was 16. Daria Gusa said that Tate basically asked me to go out with him and applied a similar strategy with other girls or young women in the Lipov or Perova areas near his home. Says basically it was the lover boy method, she told the media. She would not have been alone among Romanian women. In March 2020, Maria began a romantic relationship with the man who would become her tormentor. She thought it was love, and she moved in with him in Giurgiu County near the Bulgarian border. She later testified after he promised her the moon and stars and vowed to marry her. 2 months later, in May 2021, she arrived in a friend's car in the German city of Nuremberg, where she was expecting to be a homemaker while her fiancé worked on a construction site, but she quickly discovered she'd been tricked. I stayed in an apartment with 2 of my boyfriend's colleagues, she said. One of them told me to go work at Puff, a local brothel, which I did. She worked every night, and the boyfriend picked her up in the early hours of the morning and took all her earnings. They had frequent arguments, most of them ending in a fight. One night, she refused any further clients. He came to pick her up and took her home, where he punched and kicked me till I passed out. What the fuck? Several months after arriving, her first escape attempt failed. The next attempt succeeded after she bought a minibus ticket to Romania in the evening's earnings, but another woman found out and told her trafficker, and he soon arrived at her mother's house in Romania, and the two reconciled. Within months, she had agreed to return to Germany to work as a prostitute. In time, she would learn that her boyfriend was married to another woman who was also working as a prostitute in Germany. Investigators concluded that Maria had been emotionally dependent on her abuser and genuinely believed his promises of love and protection. They also believed the boyfriend had made payments to Maria's brother. During his prosecution and eventual conviction in connection with the trafficking of other women, Maria continued to try to protect him from justice. Wow. You know, it's like, I believe something like that, you know, where someone knowingly does it, you know, with their boyfriend. You know, it's like that kind of thing where it's, I don't know, you know, and they tell them, I protect you and take care of you and take their money like a pimp or something. You know, that happens all the time, you know, even in the United States. The acquaintance or relative. Diana was a young woman with a mental challenge, including a medical diagnosis of bipolar affective disorder in 2015. She was 22 and living in a desperate poverty in Prabova County capital, Plostil. An individual with the conviction for pimping in Greece somehow learned about her situation and reached out to her through an uncle. She recently lost her identity card and soon her uncle. With money he received from the pimp, helped her to get a new one. He also bought her clothes and eventually a coveted plane ticket to Britain. After arriving in Liverpool in August 2015, Diana was picked up at the airport by 2 men and taken to the Scottish city of Glasgow. Her identification documents were immediately taken away and she was told she was now a prostitute. They recruited her clients via specialist websites. She faced frequent beatings for resisting their instructions. By October 2015, Diana had mustered the courage and energy to flee. She flagged down the first car that passed by and, crying, told the driver, who called the police. Scottish authorities opened a criminal case that has been since taken over by Romania's Directorate for Investigation of Organized Crime and Terrorism. And we have the blackmailer. When Elena met her abuser, she was not yet 17. It was early 2020, and the teen had a strained relationship with her parents and determined to run away from home. That's when a friend introduced her to a man whom she had met one evening near midnight for a drink at a gas station in her hometown. I started going out with him, talking on the phone. Me hiding these things from my parents, including the fact that he had a young child, she later told investigators. From the first time we met, I told him that I was 16 and a half years old, so that is something that he has always knew. At one point, she consented to him filming her while they had sex. Elena later fled her parents' home and moved in with the man. Our parents contacted police frequently in an unsuccessful effort to get their daughter home. The man's intention was reportedly to take Elena to Germany to become a prostitute there, it appeared. but her age prevented her from going without her parents' permission. He shared explicit images of Elena from the video to acquaintances and even members of her family in an effort to coerce their help. Dozens of individuals eventually received images on WhatsApp or Facebook. Eventually, Elena returned to her parents' home. And after learning about the video from my relatives, I soon found out that it was circulating on all the social networks and everyone could see it, which is why I called the police, her mother told authorities. But her parents say the experience marked her for life, including leaving her quiet and constantly depressed enough to attempt suicide, which was averted only because a friend intervened to save her. Wow, dude. How about that? That's crazy. And like, those are the different types, man. You know, it's like the trafficking thing has become just, you know, I love to see all the attention being brought to it for the simple fact it's something that's been swept under the rug and hidden for so fucking long. But, you know, it's like at the same time, I feel like it's a double-edged sword. It's also being used to kind of normalize, you know, the human trafficking as well. Now let's take a look at this, guys. This is also, you know, very, very interesting because we've got a lot going on with this. You know, this is a big deal. Moving forward, we've seen like this green agenda, build back better, right? Everything kind of being pushed towards the electrification of the United States. But what's happening now is massive amounts of attacks on the power grid. But why? It says attacks on power substations are growing. Why is the electric grid so hard to protect? And let's see if we can pull this video up here. This is power outages here in North Carolina. Yeah, we're
protecting critical infrastructure.
So even before Christmas Day attacks on power substations in 5 states in the Pacific Northwest and the Southeast, similar incidents of attacks, vandalism, and suspicious activity were on the rise, Federal Energy reports through August. The most recent available show an increase in physical attacks at electrical facilities across the nation this year, continuing a trend that's been seen since 2017. At least 108 human-related events were reported during the first 8 months of 2022, compared with 99 in all of 2021 and 97 in 2020. More than a dozen cases of vandalism have been reported since September, and the attacks have prompted a flurry of calls to protect the nation's power grid, but experts have warned for more than 3 decades to step up the protection it was needed. And you know what? So that's over 120 attacks on power stations in 2022 alone. Think about that. And we just had a big one, guys. Let's go here. Let's see if we can find the big one right here. We just had this. Right here. 2 men charged for the attack on, this is the Washington power grid. 2 men were charged. There we go. 2 men arrested after the grid was knocked out Christmas Day. Energy attack in Washington. 2 men arrested after power grid knocked out on Christmas Day. Take a look here. It says the 2 Washington men are charged with conspiracy to damage energy facilities. And of course, it's going to pop up here. to damage energy facilities after several utility substations in Pierce County were attacked on Christmas Day, causing at least $3 million in damage. The attacks also left more than 14,000 in the dark on the holiday, with the power being restored for most by December 26. According to the U.S. Attorney Nick Brown, Matthew Greenwood, 32, and Jeremy Crahan, 40, of Puyallup, Washington, were arrested on December the 31st, 2022. And I guess this is a picture of the motherfucker. Weird, right? According to the criminal complaint, the two men were identified by analyzing phone records. At one of the substations, Tacoma Power captured images of a pickup truck and images of one of the suspects. Authorities said one of the suspects had a truck matching the description when serving a search warrant. Authorities said they found clothing similar to what is worn in the surveillance images. Agents said they also seized 2 short-barreled firearms, one with a makeshift silencer that had not been registered. Quote, "We have seen attacks such as these increase in Western Washington and throughout the country and must treat each incident seriously," Seattle U.S. Attorney Nick Brown said in a news release. The outages on Christmas left thousands in the dark and cold and put some who need power for medical devices at extreme risk. Attorneys who represented the men in their appearances in federal court did not immediately return emails seeking comment on the case, but Greenwood faces a detention hearing Friday, Crahan on Tuesday, and federal prosecutors are seeking to have them remain in custody pending trial. The 4 substations targeted were the Graham and Elk Plain substations operated by Tacoma Power and the Capucin and Hemlock substations operated by Puget Sound Energy. The complaint said transformers at the Tacoma Power stations would have to be replaced, and damage was estimated to be at least $3 million. According to the complaint, the pair hit the first 3 substations early on Christmas Day, then struck the last, the Capucin substation, that evening. In each case, they used bolt cutters to access the properties and manipulated switches to knock out power. At the Capucin substation, their actions caused arcing and sparking, the complaint said. Greenwood and Crahan were identified as suspects because location data showed cell phones linked to them to be in the vicinity of all 4 incidents. FBI Special Agent Mark Tucher wrote on the complaint, "Agents surveilled them from December 27th to January 3rd, and they appeared to be sharing a home in Puyallup," he said. Quote, "The substations are spread out over dozens of miles. The attacks occurred early in the morning and in the evening, and the first and fourth attacks were separated by over 12 hours, the complaint said. This makes it at least unlikely that an individual would simply happen to be all 4 locations around the times they were each vandalized." When he was arrested, Greenwood had several articles of clothing that matched images of one of the suspects in surveillance images, and agents found him to have 2 unregistered short-barreled weapons, the complaint said. The 2 men face up to 20 years in prison for conspiracy to attack energy facilities and up to 10 years in prison or possession of unregistered firearm. Prosecutors will ask for the 2 men to remain detained with the Federal Detention Center and SeaTac, and they're also charged with possession of unregistered firearm. And there's the guns right there. You can see the images. At least 4 electrical substations were targeted in earlier attacks in Oregon and Washington beginning late November. Attackers used firearms in at least some of the incidents, and some power customers in Oregon temporarily lost service. In one of the attacks, 2 people cut through a fence surrounding a high-voltage substation and then shot several pieces of equipment. The utilities affected in those cases, Portland Electric, General Electric, the Bonneville Power Administration, and Puget Sound Energy, they said they were working with the FBI. Threats against the power grid across the U.S. The damage comes as federal government monitors potential domestic threats and attacks against the power grid across the United States. Increasing protection at utility substations may soon be a new practice for power companies across Washington and the U.S. There needs to be an awareness that this is now a target. Randall Blazek, an extremism expert and sociology professor in Oregon. Tacoma Public Utilities owns 2 of the 4 substations vandalized. The company tweeted that the substations were attacked and deliberately targeted. The security around infrastructure is going to have to change, said Blazek. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security's Office of Intelligence and Analysis has been monitoring the potential threats and attacks. In January 2022, federal officers indicated extremist groups in the U.S. appeared to be increasing interest in targeting the power grid as a way of disrupting a nation. In November, DHS published a bulletin that warned of a heightened threat environment from those following violent extremist ideologies, and further states that the domestic groups could potentially act on violent threats during big upcoming events like the holiday season against U.S. targets, including critical infrastructure. And fucking how about that, right? In November, the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, conveniently published a bulletin, which we should take a look at that fucking bulletin, that warns against, quote, heightened threat environment from violent extremist ideologies, right? That would happen in the holiday season against critical infrastructure. And that's exactly what happened, right? And they were arrested not by police, but by federal fucking agents, by feds, okay? That puts the onus on law enforcement and utilities and people who have to monitor this, the kind of this to raise security level, because they are now these soft targets that are in the sights of the extremists. And like I said, we are in this whole electrification agenda and this green agenda, build back better agenda, and then all of a sudden, now it's this threat of cyber attack. And you know, Klaus Schwab, he even said the next thing make COVID look like it wasn't shit will be what? Cyber attack. The cyber pandemic. That's what's coming next, okay? That's what's coming next. And let's take a look at the bulletin here. This is the bulletin, guys, from the Department of Homeland Security. Let's see if I can make it a little bigger. Summary of the terrorism threat to the United States. The United States remains in a heightened threat environment. Lone offenders and small groups motivated by a range of ideological beliefs and or personal grievances continue to pose a persistent and lethal threat to the homeland. Domestic actors and foreign terrorist organizations continue to maintain a visible presence online in attempts to motivate supporters to conduct attacks in the homeland. Threat actors have recently mobilized to violence, citing factors such as reactions to current events and adherence to violent extremist ideologies. In the coming months, threat actors could exploit several upcoming events to justify or commit acts of violence, including certifications related to the midterm elections, the holiday season, and associated large gatherings, the marking of the 2 years since the breach of the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, and potential socio-political developments connected to ideological beliefs on personality hostility. Targets of potential violence include public gatherings, faith-based institutions, the LGBTQ plus community, schools, racial and religious minorities, government facilities and personnel, U.S. critical infrastructure, the media, and perceived ideological opponents. Wow. Have at that. And I'm going to drop this link. I think you guys can go straight to it. I hope you can go straight to it in the chat for all of y'all, in case you want to check this out yourself. I feel this whole catching of these men is a huge distraction to calm the public into thinking the officials got this. I couldn't agree more. With Up Your 73, that's a very, very good comment, actually. I've heard the charges were dropped. Is this true? I have not heard the charges were dropped. Haven't heard that. They're all controlled ops. They wouldn't be in the spotlight, or they wouldn't be in the spotlight at all. I agree. This is controlled opposition. This is probably a psyop of some sort. You know, feds are. They were walking around. The police never caught them. And I think it was Dabu7 that did a video on these two cats, right? And I was watching it, and he said that. He said, you know, it's very strange that, and somebody told me that I sounded like Dabu7 in my last video, which I love his work, so that was a compliment to me. But, so anyways, but in his video I'm watching, he says, isn't it weird how they were walking around and the cops never got these guys at all, right? They had them on camera and everything. The cops never picked them up, but federal agents found them, right? The feds were watching them, tracked them, and scooped them. You know, and this is, you know, after coming out with this bulletin back in November, a goddamn month before the event happens, right? And pushing more of that lone wolf, domestic terrorist through political ideologies. Of course, they're, you know, I'm sure they're anti-trans or anti-LGBTQ or anti, you know, black, whatever, right? Like they always are they not? Right, and they're the white males. You can, and there'll be conservatives on top of it. You can guarantee it's the same thing, right? And it's like this targeting by the government. You know, it's like probably actors, probably people that were paid to do this. You know, patsies, as you call it. And speaking of patsies, you know, there's a lot that's come out about, you know, through the JFK files about that there. You know, that's where all this shit kind of began. It's like anybody who speaks about it is a conspiracy theorist, you know? So it's like, oh God, the world gets better and better, does it not? See, New York adopts a law protecting the power grid from cyber attacks. It says the legislation will require utilities to prepare for cyber attacks in their annual emergency response plans. So, how about that? New York Governor Kathy Hochul signed legislation to create cybersecurity protections for the state's energy grid. Legislation designated A.3904B/S.5579A will require utilities to prepare for cyber attacks in their annual emergency response plans, just as they would for storm or other hazards. The new protections also give the Public Service Commission enhanced auditing powers to ensure that critical infrastructure and customer data is secured. And that's weird, right? There'll be enhanced auditing powers. Right? And they'll have access to customer data. So let's see what actually comes of this and what the true agenda behind all of this is. Okay? The governor's office said that the actions that's taken during a global surge in cyber attacks against critical infrastructure and will ensure New York's power grid remains reliable and secure. And here it is. Quote, the first modern electric grid was built in New York State, and 140 years later, we continue to take nation-leading steps to keep the lights on for all New Yorkers by strengthening our cyber security. Hochul said, we understand that this financial capital of the world and a leader in clean energy, New York is a target for hackers. This critical legislation will help protect millions of New Yorkers who depend on reliable electric service and ensure a smooth transition to clean energy. And there you have it. It passed unanimously in New York State Assembly and strengthens protection for the local distribution systems and requires utilities to secure critical infrastructure against cyber attacks. The action comes following guidance from President Joe Biden requesting the state set minimum cybersecurity requirements for critical infrastructure, including the energy system. In several instances over the past decade, cyber attacks have proven capable of shutting down electric grids. So there you have it, you know. This is all part of Biden's fucking weird-ass agenda. See physical attacks on power grid surge to new peak, you know. Meanwhile, the sun is probably the biggest fucking threat to the grid out of them all, right? Like the sun. Way more than those fucking actors. We have a CME impact jolts the Earth's magnetic field. As predicted, coronal mass ejection will hit the Earth's magnetic field on January the 4th, and that is at 2:54 Universal Time. The impact jolted magnetometers around the world, and the Canberra station in Australia registering a sudden impulse of 38. And it also ignited a G1 class geomagnetic storm. And this is a photo of it from 30,000 feet above Alberta, Canada. We witnessed an amazing display from the flight deck. You can see here significant far side solar explosion. Something just exploded on the far side of the sun. Soho watched the debris, very bright and fast CME, billows away from the sun's southeastern limb on January 3rd. And you see here, right, big fucking explosion on the sun. It won't hit the Earth. NOAA analysts have modeled the CME and determined the edge of the storm cloud will narrowly miss our planet a few days from now. And yeah, detected shockwaves from the blast wrapping around both sides of the sun's poles. It suggested it's a very powerful explosion and possibly an X flare. Radiation from the flare was eclipsed by the edge of the sun, reducing its intensity by 1 to 2 orders of magnitude. So the Earth orbiting satellites detecting only a C4 class event. Whatever exploded will soon turn to face Earth, and the helioseismic echoes pinpoint its location more than 2 days behind the sun's eastern limb. And that's sunspot AR 3163, which spent the last 2 weeks transiting the far side of the sun. It was the last time we saw it was in December, and it may have grown even bigger since. Weird. Let's take a look here. 3163, AR 3163. Let's see what the number on that is. 3163. Whoops. We'll go. .3163 in Hebrew. Let's see what it is. And Strong's shit. Concordance. Yakdo. What is Yakdo? I think I went too far ahead. Yakdo. What does that word mean? Mache. 3163. Mache. It's a battle. A battle. Fighting, strive, striving. Interesting. So this sunspot, 3163, in Strong's, in the Greek, it means a battle. Or fighting, strive, or striving. Very interesting. Very interesting. Right? So I wonder if that's what we're heading for. And then in Hebrew, Yakdo, let's see what Yakdo actually means. Yado in Hebrew. Yado. It means his unity. Wow. His unity. So fighting in Greek and his unity in Hebrew. Very interesting. I always love to look up the sunspots and what they mean. I think it's fucking, it's weird how this all kind of correlates. And I do this with asteroids and everything too, guys. So, you can call me a weirdo. You can say what you want about me, dude. But I feel like it's important. And make sure if you're in that chat, everybody that's in the chat right now, you hit that thumbs up for me. Hit that like, that way other people can find us. The more people that are hitting the thumbs up in the chat means the bigger the chat gets. How about this? The Daily Mail. A great war, economic ruin, and climate catastrophe. The 16th century French astrologer Nostradamus' gloomy predictions for 2023. That's fucking right, boy. 2023 is supposed to be a shit stain of a year. Imagine that, right? The world is facing another great war, economic ruin in 2023, at least according to the predictions of the 16th century astrologer Nostradamus. In his famous book, Les Prophéties, published in 1555 and featuring 942 poetic verses known as quatrains, the Frenchman is said to have predicted the future. Nostradamus is believed by some to have predicted 9/11, the devastation caused by global warming, and the rise of Adolf Hitler, and even the advancements in AI technology. Described as the prophet of doom, the doctor was inspired by biblical text and his own experiences of plague, with his predictions focused on famine and sorrow. More than 400 years after Nostradamus published his book, his work remains popular because his predictions are entirely open to interpretation and could mean fucking anything. A great war waged by evil forces. And this is a look, right, at, the predictions, right, for next year. A great war waged by evil forces. 7 months great war. People dead through evil. 7 months great war. People dead through evil. And you know what? That could mean a couple of things, by the way. Just saying. That could mean in the 7th month of the year, right, a war begins, or a war lasting 7 months as well, right? So I think July, right, is and we've went through this shit. I've done so many videos on that, right? Set, right, and Anglemoy and all of that, right? The Angel Month and Set and the King of Terror and all that. I've went through all this, so many things, and I bet that's what they're actually going off of. It says the workings of Nostradamus foresaw a great war in the year 2023. The ominous prediction comes at a time of heightened global tensions between the world's leading superpowers. Russia is growing increasingly desperate as Vladimir Putin invasion of Ukraine has so far failed to secure any semblance of victory. Could the 75-year-old dictator snap and go nuclear on the former Soviet satellite state? Or could he declare war on a NATO ally after sabotaging more underwater cables? Or perhaps embolden China will spark a confrontation with the U.S. with an invasion of Taiwan or over a disputed territory in the South China Sea. Elsewhere, tensions could resurface between Pakistan and India, two nuclear-capable powers who frequently have skirmishes over disputed territory in Kashmir and Jammu. However, to those who believe in Nostradamus' abilities to see into the future, the 7-month description could offer some solace. It hints at a conventional war, given that a battle involving the exchange of nuclear bombs would be over within a matter of hours. Say, what? Just because it's 7 months isn't like some fucking consolation prize, like, oh, they're going to fight for 7 months. You could use nuclear weapons for 7 months just as easy, right? We see the whole, development of tactical nuclear weapons, right? It could take that long for it to escalate until they start dropping, fucking nation-killing bombs, too, just to keep it real. This is another, the light on Mars will go out. Prediction from Nostradamus says, the light on Mars will go out as we enter Venus season. How cool, right? This is and the moon will occult Mars this month, guys. So I wonder if that's what you're talking about. That would be weird, right? The moon occults Mars this month. So the light on Mars will go out. This is another cryptic message in the same quatrain that predicts a great war. Could this be a warning for Elon Musk, whose SpaceX company is planning to send people to Mars by the year 2026? Perhaps his dream of populating the red planet will somehow vaporize next year. It comes as his Twitter takeover was widely criticized in 2022, with scores of users, including several celebrities, deactivating their accounts. According to reports, the world's richest man lost $92 billion of his fortune after buying Twitter this year, and it can also hint of issues for NASA's exploration program. The Perseverance rover is currently on the red planet taking pictures and collecting samples. One will hope there is no risk to the actual planet Mars itself, though some form of catastrophic astrological event. And I find that to be the most fucking interesting, guys. Honestly, just considering, the 2023. A great war waged by evil forces. The light on Mars will go out, right? And keep in mind, right, Mars being occulted by the moon this month. Economic disaster. So high will be the bushel of wheat rise, the man will be eating his fellow man. What in the fuck? I just did in my video the day before yesterday talking about lab-grown meat and cannibalism. Boom. Right? Boom. All of this on top of, right, the moon occulting Mars. It is weird. It does look like he's pointing to 2023. I'm just saying, it's kind of creepy. Okay? And we are on the tensions of great war and evil, right? So high will be the bushel of wheat rise that man will be eating his fellow man. This chilling prediction paints a picture of total collapse in food supply networks, with some people left so desperate they resort to cannibalism. Could it be a sign of dire things to come as the war in Ukraine wages on? It comes after Putin blockaded shipments of grain out in the war-torn country this year. One of the blocked ships in October had been carrying a vital 40,000 tons of wheat to Ethiopia under UN aid programs. Meanwhile, the cost of food around the world soared, contributing to the cost of living crisis and increasing poverty rates, including the UK. But there are other factors at play. As the world's biggest economies struggle to rebound following the devastating COVID pandemic, threatening new economic downturn in the UK, recession is on the cards after the economy shrunk by 0.2% between July and September. And in the gloomy outlook report for 2023, the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, predicted the worst is yet to come. The IMF just said this. The worst is yet to come. I don't know if I put this up in my last video or the one before, but I did read this article and I'm like, what? They're telling us all, right? For many people, 2023 will be like a recession. It said, predicting an economic contraction in at least a third of the world. And it said a third of the people will go into recession in 2023, that the worst is yet to come. And finally, climate change to accelerate. For 40 years, the rainbow will not be seen. For 40 years, it will be seen every day, right? And there's the 40, right? 40 years in the desert, right? 40 days, right? This is very biblical, okay? So try to think of it as maybe that could be why, okay? For 40 years, the rainbow will not be seen. For 40 years, it will be seen every day. The dry earth will grow more parched, and there will be great floods when it is seen. That is strange. Okay, so for 40 years, the rainbow will not be seen. And for 40 years, it will be seen every day. The dry earth will grow more parched. And there will be great floods when it is seen. Interesting. This particular prophecy appears quite apt given the current state of the climate. Europe saw its worst drought in 500 years in 2022, while the Horn of Africa is currently experiencing the longest and most severe drought on record, threatening millions of people with starvation. There were also catastrophic floods in Pakistan between June and October, killing more than 1,700 people and causing more than $14 billion worth of damage. If Nostradamus' prediction is to be believed, next year could be even worse climate disasters, although one hopes nothing that will last for 40 years. Revolt and civil unrest. Sooner and later, you will see great changes made. Dreadful horrors and vengeance. Think about that. Jesus, Lord. Sooner and later, you will see great changes made. Dreadful horrors and vengeances. The trumpet shake with great discord, and agreement broken, lifting the face to heaven. The bloody mouth will swim with blood. The face anointed with milk and honey lies on the ground. Very fucking cryptic, guys. We should really do a deep dive into this and see, what we can come up with. Okay? But the trumpet shakes with great discord. An agreement broken. Is this like a peace deal? The Middle Eastern peace deal? Perhaps? A ceasefire of some sort? Right? Lifting the face to the heavens. The bloody mouth will swim with blood. The face anointed with milk and honey lies on the ground. Very, very interesting. And we'll see here. These Nostradamus quatrains warn of potential civil unrest and uprisings, and come at a time of increasing tensions between the classes and other groups. In both Western democracies and more autocratic states, there's a growing disdain against the super wealthy, who have continued to grow their astronomical wealth despite the COVID pandemic, which has left the overwhelming majority of the world's population poorer. Could the lower economic classes launch some kind of revolt, similar to the U.S. Capitol riot in January 2021, which was also a fucking false flag event, right? I did a video. Hey, join the Best Damn Fam. $33 a month. Get access to our private, live, and exclusive content. We're going to start doing the private Discords too. Every week, guys. Every week. January, I'm kicking it off. Every week, we're bringing it back. All of it. Join that, man, and check out our complete list of uncensored videos, and you'll see what actually happened on January 6th. This year, seeing the potential revolts, including in Iran, where protests and demonstrations continue following the murder of a woman by the country's so-called morality police. The country says it's shutting the force down, but this will be enough to stop the tide of widespread resistance. According to the Global Protest Tracker, more than 132 countries have experienced significant protests in 2022, with almost a quarter, 23%, lasting for more than 3 months. That is fucking crazy. Nostradamus. And we're not going to go through all this, who was Nostradamus and all this, but I think that's fucking interesting, guys. I mean, I don't think that's too far-fetched, to actually say that some of this shit could possibly happen, right? Some of this shit could possibly happen. Now, let's take a look at some of this before we get out of here, okay? Flights diverted around the Philippines after the country's airspace collapsed due to malfunctions. That is very interesting considering Taiwan and the South China Sea, right? But the flights diverted in the Philippines after the country's airspace collapsed due to malfunctions. You see the images here of that airspace, okay? The Space Force has taken over all the Department of Defense's military satellite communications functions. Space Force, why? They aren't held under posse comitatus, right? Posse comitatus prevents our military from coming against our own population. All right? The Space Force isn't a part of that. Neither is the National Guard. It's almost like they're outside of the bounds of control and restriction and can be used even against the United States citizens. They created a fucking monster. You didn't elect them. They run drugs, enable child rape, traffic children, protect pedophiles, protect corrupt politicians, kill their own civilians in false flags, and then kill millions of Iraqis, kill blackmail presidents, release viruses on us, hate humanity, ladies and gentlemen, the motherfucking CIA. I love it. The motherfucking CIA. Neither stigmas or conspiracies but science, okay? The CIA employed around 40 journalists that acted undercover as agents in 1973. This just fucking tells you what the media actually is. The mainstream media, this Operation Mockingbird shit, Mockingbird media, it's all part of, dis and misinformation campaigns by our own fucking government to brainwash and mind control the masses, right? It says, I do consider it noteworthy, however, that on November the 20th, 1973, the Washington State News reported that CIA employed some 40 journalists who doubled as undercover contacts. Say what? The agency does not believe there has been any impropriety on its part in the limited use made of persons connected in some way with American media, church, and missionary organizations. So it's not just the media, motherfucker, it's your church too, right? It's your church too. Okay, man, I'm trying to tell people, it's fucking nuts, dude. Vice President, VP of German Parliament calls for investigation into what? You guessed it. You guessed it. The convenience of it all, guys. We're never going to get the truth, unless we push for it. How about this? Okay? It's been in the plan for a long time. They've actually pulled the fucking trigger, and here it is. In the future, it will be a question of finding a way to reduce the population. We will start with the old, then the weak, and the useless, and especially the stupid ones. We will get rid of them, making them believe it is for their own good. We will find something, or we'll cause it, a pandemic that targets certain people, a virus that will affect the old or the fat. It doesn't matter. The weak will succumb to it. The fearful and the stupid will believe it and ask to be treated. And we will have taken care to have planned the treatment. A treatment that will be the solution. The selection of idiots will thus be done. They will go to the slaughterhouse on their own. And this is Jacques Attali, French Jewish shadow president of France, interviewed in 1981. How about that? How about that? Right? And you guys, I don't know if you've seen any of this, but this woman that's in all these pictures with Vladimir Putin, some people believe it's part of his security, some people believe he's just banging her, and some people believe he's doing both. So, how about this? Prepare for the big one. Second strong quake in 2 weeks since Northern Cali, back to response and cleanup mode, felt more violent than a magnitude 6.4 jolt. And this looks like it's up there by the Juan de Fuca, y'all. I mean, I've told you guys, the big one in California is said to be like a magnitude 10 on the Richter scale. So this is unlike anything we will have ever known in modern history, right? Modern historical accounts will have never known anything like the big one. But Cascadia subduction zone will be 30 to 40 times more powerful than that when the Juan de Fuca plate actually slips. So, the fires, the tsunamis, the quakes, the shit is nuts, and it's like we're pushing towards that. Northern Cali officials are back in cleanup mode after the second earthquake in 2 weeks struck the region Sunday morning, 10:35 a.m., cracking walls and roads. The 5.4 magnitude earthquake was shallow, striking at a depth of about 19 miles, USGS said, and it was centered about 30 miles south of Eureka and 9 miles south of Rio Del, the USGS said. And you can see there, 6.4 earthquake also shook the area about 125 miles south of the Oregon border on December 20th, resulting in 2 deaths. And that was the solstice, guys, right around the winter solstice, okay? Rio Del Mar, Deborah Garnes on the December quake also left 27 of the town's homes red tagged, meaning they were unsafe due to damage, and 73 homes yellow tagged. Some of the buildings were further damaged Sunday and may need to be torn down, she said. Quote, "We are kind of starting over. We have moved from our response to our recovery, and now we are basically in both." Garnes told CNN's Pamela Brown Sunday, "We have to be back into response because the southern end of town really took it hard this time." This is a video showing the 5.4 earthquake in northern Cali. Let's see it. Motherfucker, that's huge.
Strong earthquake hitting Northern California yesterday morning, a magnitude 5.4. That's a preliminary magnitude quake.
Strong.
An area known as Rio Del in Humboldt County. Now, no reports of any major damage or injuries right now, but there were some power outages. The same area was hit with a strong quake last month. A 6.4 magnitude quake struck Rio Del, killing 2 people and causing widespread damage.
Yeah, very, very crazy, very intense, y'all. And here you go. This is what we're just pointing to, right? The IMF. Brace yourself for impact. Third of the world in recession this year, the IMF head warns. Okay, so this is the head of the IMF. For those who rely on the mainstream media for the warning, this is from BBC. Brace yourselves for impact. When it's the mainstream media reporting things like this, it has been going on for months. Head of the IMF, Kristalina Georgieva, said 2023 will be tougher than last year as the US, the EU, and China see their economies slow down. It comes as the war in Ukraine, rising prices, higher interest rates, and the spread of COVID in China weigh on the global economy. And here is the warning. A third of the global economy will be in recession this year. The head of the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, has warned. Kristalina Georgieva said 2023 will be tougher than last year as the US, EU, and China see their economies slow. It comes as a war in Ukraine, rising prices, higher interest rates, and the spread of COVID in China weigh on the global economy. In October, the IMF cut its global economic growth outlook for 2023. We expect 1/3 of the world to be in recession. How about that, right? That's coming straight from the motherfucking IMF. Okay? Straight from the IMF. And this is probably the answer of what they're going to do for all the things that are heading our way. They've got so many different things they've got planned for us because they love us so motherfucking much, right? Someone dug up an 18-year-old article about the world's richest men, including our usual suspect, Bill Gates, secretly assembling to discuss measures to curb overpopulation. And here it is, Billionaire Club in a bid to curb overpopulation. And let's see what it says. Some of America's leading billionaires have met secretly to consider how their wealth could be used to slow the growth of the world's population and speed up improvements in health and education. The philanthropist who attended the summit convened on the initiative of Bill Gates, the Microsoft co-founder, discussed joining forces to overcome political and religious obstacles to change. He described as a good club by one insider. It included David Rockefeller Jr., the patriarch of America's wealthiest dynasty, Warren Buffett, George Soros, the financiers Michael Bloomberg, the mayor of New York, media moguls Ted Turner, and motherfucking Oprah Winfrey, and they called them the Good Guy Club? This is called the Good Guy Club? The members, along with Gates, have given away more than 45 billion euros since '96. What the fuck? Oh my God. Most people living in Western countries believe information is hidden, censored, and manipulated in other places such as China, North Korea, and Iran. Westerners have been deceived into thinking they have access to the truth. And here you go. Ideological subversion or psychological warfare. It changes the perception of reality to such an extent that despite the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interest of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. And this is, we're so far beyond this, guys, it's not even fucking funny at this point. We're so far beyond this, it's not funny. Oh, Lord. How many of these fucking coincidences do we still need? Bills Damar Hamlin goes down and ambulances on the field. CPR administered. Entire Bills team in prayer as Damar leaves the field in an ambulance. They think we are stupid. I guess we'll just keep calling it coincidental until half of us are dead. This former football player also died of a heart attack last night at just 38. I love when docs know exactly what happened, although they haven't even checked the first analysis made on the patient. Exactly, right? The cordio cordis or whatever shit. Okay, that's what happened. And you take a look, but the narrative is changing. Growing evidence suggests that these things make people more susceptible and could be fueling evolution. Even if some would rather literally die than acknowledge corporation and governments don't love them. And take a look at this. Look at this quote here. I will never regret the blank. Even if it turns out I injected actual poison and I have only days to live. My heart is and was in the right place. I got vaccinated out of love while anti-vaxxers did everything out of hate. I have to die because of my love for the world, then so be it. But I will never, ever regret or apologize for it. Give me a fucking break, dude. You done this out of love? You done this because you're a selfish fuck, right? You wanted to protect your own ass. You wasn't worried about nobody else. Nobody else. You thought that there was like a limited supply of this shit, and you lined up to try to make sure you got one before everyone else. You did this to keep your own tail safe because you're scared of dying. You're scared of getting sick. You're scared because you believe every fucking thing you're told, right? You didn't do this for some virtuous thing, but remember, that's what it's all about now. Virtue signaling, the fucking morality police. This is what we see no matter what agenda we're talking about. This is where it goes down to. It's like, who's more moral and who's more virtuous by doing what's politically correct and politically acceptable, or socially acceptable and politically correct, right? What are they saying on social media? What's trending there, right? Like, that's what we should do, because if we don't do that, then we'll look like bad people. We don't want that, so let's go ahead and do some things we're not comfortable with. Let's go ahead and subject ourselves to fucking experiments, right? Who cares? Who cares? Let's tell them to stop a football game because everybody else is screaming it, even though we don't even know what the fuck happened to the guy who got hurt. Let's all come to conclusions about his injury before he's even woke up, right? And we'll tell everyone that it was perfect timing for this hit on this freak injury and not what we all fucking think and really know it is. The shit's insane. The shit is insane. Oh my God. And, yeah. Woo! It's like, I don't know how to even And these are the same motherfuckers who shove frozen ketchup up their assholes and say that they get periods. I mean, I'm at a loss for words at this point. Or how about this, the trans age, right? So they can say your children is an adult and have sex with them. They're already sexualizing them by sending fucking drag queens into their kindergarten to strip and kick their nuts up in the air as they read them fucking books, right? But we're okay with this. We're okay with this, and you're probably more offended by the fact I said fucking nuts than you are by any of this, which is the crazy part. You know, we're bigots and homophobics and transphobics and racists and all of these other terrible, terrible names, and cretins that you know are anti this and anti that and deniers of this and deniers of that. It's like we're the worst people ever. Right, by asking questions and pointing out the goddamn insanity of it all. It's like the world has gone fucking mad and nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody is even aware of the shit. And if you point it out, they will cancel you. They will silence you. They will, you know, it's like if you're a content creator, they'll roll your views backwards. You know, you'll lose subscribers, you know. It's like they'll demonetize you. It's just fucking crazy. And it's like we can't get people in today's world to step up and support the truth, to come together for anything, to unify over anything, you know. It's like you gotta see, man, there is a powerful, powerful group of people and a powerful spirit that is rising up against all of us. It's anti-human. And it's trying to flip our whole reality upside down and tell you what's real and what's fake. Tell you what's true and what's false. And goddamn, to hell with the science. To hell with the facts. You know, believe what we say to believe. Do what we say to do. Shut the fuck up. Have nothing. Own nothing. Be nothing. And be grateful for it. Right? This is where we're going. This is a trip we're taking. You know, Eurozone's kamikaze interest rates rises could collapse currency and cause even more severe economic crisis in Italy. UK finally bans the import of Russian LNG 10 months into the NATO's failing war in Ukraine and will buy it double from India. Say what? It's like the stupidity just continues to intensify. California braces for a third atmospheric river bomb cyclone since Christmas, bringing severe flooding and loss of life. More to come. These atmospheric rivers, as a result of geoengineering and HARP and all of this, and I'm telling you, let me show you this too. Very strange, the HARP shit, or the, you know, the atmospheric rivers, they literally just had HARP pulses that were captured on radar just the other day. Let me see if I can find it. It's right here. Right here. Check this out. Ping. Wait 2 seconds. Ping. Ping. This is what most ham radio operators heard yesterday when they received HARP's radar transmission to asteroid 2010 XC15. Scott Tilley of Robert Creek's British Columbia took a closer look, and this is what they saw. Everyone who picked up the pulse did so because Earth's ionosphere reflected some of HARP's radio energy back to Earth. Only a fraction escaped into space and reached the asteroid. Tilley's high-time resolution recording of the pulse shows that multiple reflections, probably with a dash of ducting and refraction, were involved. The complexity of the ionosphere and how it modifies shortwave signals is key challenges for researchers who will be processing radar returns from the asteroid. And this appeared in the sky of Lofoten Islands, Norway, at the same time. Look at that. Right? As the heart was lit up, this appeared in the sky in Norway. Nothing to see here, folks. Right? You could see the pings on the goddamn radar, and at the same time, major fucking earthquakes hit California. Right? and atmospheric rivers that are huge bring more and more flooding, damage, and devastation, and I wonder what it's all a result of. It couldn't possibly be engineered. This couldn't possibly be part of the same agenda to disrupt all the supply chains and create shortages, right? To create confusion amongst the sexes, your age, your gender, your race, and whatever else, in division amongst all of them, in conflict amongst all of them, in your political parties, your religious beliefs as well. Storm buries Tahoe region over 4 feet of snow in spots. What? The latest dump comes days after it hit the region. This is in spots. Monster flood kills at least 51 in the Philippines. 46,000 others forced to flee. 46,000 forced to flee.
Sa Tabog Norte na bridge, guys. So ayan, naputol na po siya. So, grabe.
Landed yan. So, nilagyan namin ng barikada para...
Hit that thumbs up too if you're in the chat, fam.
Diri sa Alik Barangay Hall. So, nanakay ang mga...
You don't think... You don't think there's some... And this comes out, you know, after all the rest. How many other agendas, peeps? You know? More than 1 in 4 people think someone they know died from the you-know-what. More than 1 in 4 people think someone they know died from you-know-what. What do you think about that? Nearly half of Americans think that they may be to blame for many, many unexplained endings in people's life cycles. And more than a quarter say that someone they know could possibly be one of those people, right? The latest Rasmussen reports, National Telephone and Online Survey, find that 49% of American adults believe it is likely that side effects of C-19 jabs have caused a significant number of unexplained people going, including 28% who think it's very likely, 37% don't say a significant number have caused the side effects, and 17% who believe it's not at all likely, and another 14% who are not sure. And I would love to see the survey, but they don't have a place to click. Yeah, 28% of adults say they personally know someone whose death they think may have been caused by side effects, while 61% don't, and another 10% are just not sure. The documentary, named Died Suddenly, has been criticized as prompting or promoting debunked anti-vax conspiracy theories, but has been seen by some 15 million people. And I'm going to try to post that on my BitChute channel for everybody, guys. The documentary Died Suddenly. Make sure to go to bitchute.com/bestdampodcast. And I should have that up by tonight, you know. But so check that out. I've got some interesting stuff up there anyways. All my videos that get strikes or whatever that are public are up there. And make sure to follow us Rumble too. Rumble, Best Damn Podcast, and the Best Damn Podcast. You know, so everything that gets strikes, all of it, it's up there. And make sure to donate and support. That way you can join the Best Damn Fam and check out our private content. Right now I'm in the process of uploading all of the uncensored videos to the Dropbox. Those links will be in the subscriptions and Patreons and all that stuff for you who want to check it out, with new uncensored videos coming this week. So yeah, I'm really stoked. That'll be on Discord, a private show. I believe I'm going to do them Sunday night. So anybody's interested in that, donate $33 a month. You get to watch one every week. The entire library. It's awesome. And that's for those who support and help the channel out. So yeah. Book your own personal tarot reading too, guys. Get some information on the things that are taking place. Right now is a crazy time. Obviously, right? A crazy fucking time. And a lot of us need just a little help, man. And kind of seeing like which direction we want to go in life. And like what's going on. People have questions. And I feel like tarot really helps us to kind of see the energy and see some possibilities. Also, you can donate support to the channel too. If you just want to give, we're completely viewer powered. My last couple videos got strikes. I mean, they've just completely been shadow banning us. It helps me to be able to do what I love to do and to bring these kind of videos to you. So if you enjoy these type of shows, and I know a lot of you say you do, support me. That way I can continue to make them and make things better, and just continue to grow and continue to try to bring truth, and expose the lies of the system. But I need your help to do that. We got to do it as a community. You can do that by donating PayPal, Venmo, Patreon, Cash App, or Facebook Messenger. Get a YouTube or Facebook subscription. Book a tarot reading. And I'm giving discounts in the month of January too for tarot readings. So if you want the video version, I'm going to do them cheaper, as well as 1 question, 2 questions, or 3 questions, right? 1 hour or more. I'm going to be offering discounts on all of those. So just text 513-393-2396 or email therealbestdampodcast@gmail.com to inquire about booking your reading. I'm only doing so many, so once they're booked up, that's it for a while, right? So and they will be at a discount in the month of January. I want to start the new year off right. Let's start it off with awareness, consciousness. Let's start it off trying to really focus our intent on something positive. Focus our energy, on the things that truly matter in life, and focus on one another and building a wonderful community. Make sure to join our Discord. It's free. Links are in the description. Follow me on Twitter, The Real Best Damn, Facebook, Instagram, Best Damn Podcast, and BitChute, Rumble, all that, guys. I'm going to wrap this one up. I just want to tell y'all, man, I appreciate all that you do. I appreciate everything that you guys do for me. I appreciate all you that have watched for so long, so many years, through all the stuff. I hope you'll check out my astrology videos and my tarot videos too. I really put a lot of effort into that. Those are coming out for the month of January also, in the year of 2023. You can see the direction we're heading, man, and it's not a good one. Honestly, you can see the direction we're heading, and it's not a good one. And I hate to say it, there isn't very many content creators at all that are left that are actually bringing any sort of fucking truth. Any sort of truth. We're going to do one more before we get out of here. And this is a biblical site in Israel where Jesus is said to have healed a blind man. Will be open to the public for the first time in 2,000 years. And I think this is symbolic, right? Christ. The Christ in us, right? Like that, which is that Holy Spirit, healing the blind man, right? It's opening your spiritual eyes, right, to see the truth. The biblical site where Jesus is said to have healed a blind man will soon be open to the public for the first time in 2,000 years. The Pool of Siloam, located on the southern part of the city of David, archaeological site in Jerusalem, is cherished by Christians and Jews. It's currently being excavated by archaeologists, and it will either be open to the public piece by piece or once the entire site is unearthed. This is expected to take several years. And the healing of the blind man. John 7:9.
The account of the blind man who is healed by Jesus at the pool of Siloam is a beautiful story that can teach us of the power of the Savior to likewise give us light and healing in our own daily struggles.
And to be honest, it's to tell us to kind of lean on God at the end of the day, because that's where we get our true healing from. No matter who you call God or what you believe it to be, it's that divinity within each and every one of us, all men, all things, right, that gives power and life. The spark of creation to everything. It animates it all. You know, and Christ is the anointing, right? It's the anointing of the Holy Spirit. You can call it the sacred secretion, right, that comes from the pineal gland. I don't care how you look at it, from a metaphysical standpoint, from a religious standpoint, astrotheological standpoint, talking about the constellation of Virgo and the solstice and all of that. Either way you look at it, it doesn't matter, because reality is all a reflection of spirit, right? All the dimensions, all our world is a reflection of what's internal to us. So that's why spiritually, collectively, individually, emotionally, all of it seems to be the same story playing out over and over again. Right? And it's tapping into that anointing on the inside, which is our heart. It's love, it's truth, it's light. Right? It opens our eyes. It takes the scales off of our eyes, allowing us to see through all the lies and deception of this world. Through all the bullshit and the hogwash that we're fed on a daily basis. Through the hatred that tries to pin us against each other, to divide us and conquer us. You know, and it opens our spiritual eye, most importantly. You know, so we can be in tune to something higher, something bigger, something more. We have a discernment. We level up, so to speak, and get closer to God. And it's a way that can't be explained. But if thine eye be single, then thy whole body be filled with light. Right? It's a spiritual body. You know, you're bigger, you're more than you could ever possibly imagine. You are a piece of the divine. You are the children of God. In essence, you are Christ. You know. And each and every day, it's up to us to kind of try to lift that up and, you know, show others what that means. You know, and show others the benefit of living life according to Christ and what that can bring each and every one of us. You know, it's like, I feel like it's not about being perfect either. It's like just trying to be the best version of yourself you can be each and every day. And to treat people how you want to be treated, you know. And just be sincere and genuine in your heart in all you do. And your life will be filled. Be appreciative and grateful and humble. You know, it's like your life will be filled with the beautiful things. And you'll have a point of view that will allow you the appreciation of all that you have. You know. Serve others and watch how much you truly serve yourself. So, thank you so much for watching. I love all of you. Please, 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 if you enjoyed it, hit the thumbs up, guys. I appreciate all of you. Looks like we have Eve. Yeah, they're being exposed. Morning Sunshine. Kimberly F. Chanel Brown. Up Yours 73. Maria Elkman. Civilian Warrior. Thank you so much, guys. I love you all, man. I appreciate you. Cleric Knight. David Lagar, awesome, awesome. Amber R, Carla, Eric Ibu Elliott, Sally Starchild, Carol Dryling, Jam Low. Nice, guys, very nice. If I forgot anybody, Truth Behind the Lie. If I forgot anybody, I apologize. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please hit the thumbs up and give this a like wherever you watch it. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about tonight's stories. Make sure to check out the last couple of videos too, man. They're really good. You know, and it helps me too. But, you know, by hitting that like and leaving a comment, it helps with the algorithm. Share this link, your Facebook groups, on your social medias. Follow me Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Make sure to subscribe here, the backup channel, on all our platforms, and consider donating, supporting it. It allows me to keep it going, keep it moving. Get a subscription, get the exclusive content, book a reading, all the information in the description box down below. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Remember, Jesus is the truth, the way, and the life. God bless you all. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Peace.